For just a moment, I want you to think about something for me. Whether you're a parent or not, I believe everybody can at least imagine this scenario. So I want you to imagine for me that you go run errands with your 4-year-old child and your other children as well. You are out running errands for several hours. You get home, you go inside. 10 minutes have gone by and you haven't seen your 4-year-old child. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour goes by, and you haven't seen your 4-year-old child. Does that make sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me. At 4 years old, you're not even old enough to truly start school. Of course, you can go to preschool and daycare and those kind of classes, but you can't actually start first grade at 4 years old in the United States. So at that young of an age, if you're not trusted to go to school yet, how is it that you can trust your child and not know where they are for that long of a time? 4 years old, that is really young. To not know where your 4-year-old is for 10 minutes even, that confuses me. Now, I don't think you need to keep your eyes on your children 24/7. Of course, that is completely impossible to do. And then you'd be a helicopter parent, and actually that isn't a good thing either, because that tends to lead to other issues later in the child's life. So you don't want to 24/7 have your eyes on your children. You need to give them some sort of freedom, some sort of independence. But at 4 years old, you should know where your child is every 10 minutes, if not even less than that. Whether you know where they are and you know they're watching TV and you go check on them every few minutes, or you just call out to them and have them respond in some way, you should to some extent know where your child is and what they are doing, especially at the age of 4. So for a Houston family, how they did not realize their 4-year-old child did not get out of the car and get into the house, I'm completely confused. In fact, on all of these cases, I'm extremely confused, and as we get into more of the stories, the ages get even younger. So, yeah, I'm probably going to be a bit animated and a bit angry. Hey guys, Kitty Vibes here, and welcome back to my channel. Today, unfortunately, I'm talking about a topic that I think a lot of us don't like to think about or talk about, because unfortunately it is really sad, but it happens more often than you probably think. In fact, I will talk about just how many of these cases there have been in the United States this year in just a moment. The following cases all take place in Texas, and all within the months of July and August of this year. Fortunately, I don't just have one story or just two stories. There are multiple stories of children who have passed away in just the past couple of months, and just in Texas alone. I'll also talk about why I'm focusing on Texas in just a moment as well. This is obviously going to be a pretty rough story. Every case that I talk about is very sad, and I really do feel... I can't even imagine what these parents are going through. I can't imagine what the other family members are going through. My deepest condolences go out to every person involved. I do think even the people who are responsible for these children's deaths do deserve some form of condolences as well. So again, deepest condolences to every single person impacted by the following stories. In the beginning of July on the West Coast, it's extremely hot. In fact, all over the United States, the beginning of July tends to be extremely hot. Whatever it is outside, it's a hell of a lot hotter inside your car. If it's 80 degrees, your car will be almost 100 degrees in just 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, your car is going to typically pass 100 degrees. 10 minutes. 10 short minutes. On July 3rd of this year, 2024, two women took multiple children out to run errands with them. They were gone for several hours. They get home, they get inside their house, and yet for some reason, it took them a very long time to notice the 4-year-old child was not in the house with them. Personally, that just doesn't make much sense to me, because if I have a 4-year-old child, I'm going to make sure they get into the house before I do. Even if I'm inside the house, I'm in the doorway and I'm looking out to ensure my child's coming in, I'm still going to do at least that at the very least. I mean, there's tons of things that can happen. Your child can get kidnapped, your child can run out into the road and get hit, an animal can come get your kid. Like, unfortunately, there are plenty of videos online where people's dogs get out and attack kids. There are videos of coyotes, of raccoons, like all types of wild animals, and even domesticated pets that attack young children when the parents are just several feet away. So I just cannot fathom not knowing my child, my 4-year-old child, has gotten into the house. Now, like I said before, we don't know these people's stories 100%. We don't know every single detail about these cases, and I don't mean to shame them in the worst way possible, but to some extent, they do deserve to be shamed. And as much as they do deserve condolences, because I can only imagine the pain they're going through and the guilt they have, which they deserve, but I do believe these stories need to be told, and I do believe that some shame needs to be put on them. Blame does need to be put on them because it is their fault at the end of the day. Just a few days ago, unfortunately, there have been multiple infant deaths in Texas alone due to this exact reason. Before we get into the other two stories, I want to talk a little bit about why it gets so hot in a car. So why is it that it gets so much hotter inside of a car than it does outside of the car? A lot of it has to do with the glass windows, actually. So the way that heat comes from the sun is in the form of shortwave radiation. This goes into the car and through the glass. It travels quite easily through the glass of the car. And then different surfaces within the car absorb this heat, especially the upholstery and the dashboard and the steering wheel. Anything with like leather, anything black is going to absorb it a lot quicker and a lot easier. Then the heat is re-emitted off of these surfaces, but in the form of long wave radiation. Now, long wave radiation and short wave radiation are different in multiple ways, and this includes that long wave radiation, which again is being re-emitted from within the car, isn't able to get through the glass or not as easily as the shortwave radiation. So basically, the heat comes into the car very easily, but it can't get out of the car very easily. And at the time of recording this, it is currently August 28th of 2024. Just 6 days ago, a 9-month-old infant died after being left in a car for over 7 hours in Texas in the summer in the heat. How do you not realize an infant has been gone for 7 hours? 1 hour, 10 minutes. It would take me less than 10 minutes to notice an infant is not with me. This is a 9-month-old baby. This isn't a child who's running off to their room. This isn't a teenager who's going to slip on by, go in the room, shut the door, and you're not going to see them till the next day. This is an infant. This is a baby. You have to care for this baby. You have to change its diaper. You have to feed it. You have to pick it up. This is a baby. And for over 7 hours, this baby was not accounted for. I can't even imagine what these parents are going through. The Beeville Police Department in Texas said that the grandmother had forgotten the baby in the car. It was around 8:30 a.m. It wasn't until around 4 p.m. that she found the infant. At just 5 in the morning, when the sun is just barely rising, here in Arizona, at 5 a.m., it's nearly 90 degrees. That's outside. If it's nearly 90 degrees outside, within 10 minutes, it's going to be almost, if not above, 100 degrees inside your car. The sun is barely out by this time, and it is already almost 100 degrees inside your car. Let that sink in. So let's take a look at the weather in Texas. At 8:30 in the morning, again, 80 degrees. It's going to be nearly 100 degrees inside your car within 10 minutes. And that's the temperature at 8:30 in the morning. The grandmother was taken into police custody for what happened. And rightfully so. No matter how much pain this woman is going through, It doesn't excuse what she's done. She needs to face the consequences. This unfortunately happened just 24 hours after another Texas child was left in a car and died. In this situation, it was in Corpus Christi, Texas. A nearly 2-year-old child by the name of Harley Adam was left in the car after their mother, Hilda Adam, forgot to take the child to daycare. They're about to be 2 years old. You have to help them with everything, essentially. So you have to get your child ready, you have to get them fed, you have to get the things they need for the day, you have to get the things that you need for the day, you then have to get the kid into the car, you then have to drive to the daycare, take your child out of the car, get into the daycare, check your child into the daycare, talk to the people at the daycare, and then say goodbye to your child. You then have to get back into your car and then drive to wherever it is that you plan on going that day. I can't fathom how you don't realize you have not dropped your child off at daycare, let alone gotten your child out of the car after loading them into the car. So unfortunately, 22-month-old Harley Adam passed away because Hilda just somehow forgot to drop her kid off and forgot to take them out of the car for several hours. Corpus Christi police do say they are looking at this as a criminal homicide. In the event that you have forgotten a pet or a child in the car, if you get back and they are already showing signs of a heat stroke, of course, the first thing you need to do is call 911 immediately. The best thing you can do is get them into a shaded area that is obviously cool, cold, and close to room temperature water. You want to put this on a sponge or some cloth, some fabric, whatever, and apply it to very specific areas of the body. These parts of the body are higher in blood vessels and therefore will absorb it quicker. So places like the groin, the back, and the neck are all ideal, as well as the armpits. This is a great place for both pets and people. If someone is suffering from heat stroke, do not leave them alone, not even for a split second. Heat stroke can become moderate to severe within a literal half of a second. Out of nowhere, the person can collapse. You need to stay with them at all times. Of course, if it means leaving them because you have to get a phone to call 911, that is of course more important, but make sure the person or the animal is low to the ground and in a place where if they do collapse, they're not going to hit their head or have any other worse injury. Some of the signs of heat stroke is going to be excessive panting, losing consciousness, being dizzy, a severe headache, unable to concentrate, red skin, skin being hot to the touch, nausea, and a fast pulse. I think one of the reasons I get so angry by this is because I don't even leave forget about my dog in the car. And keep in mind, speaking of, come here, ready? Jump. He can jump all the way up if he wants. So this is Oliver. I don't know if this is just like a summer thing he's doing, but in the middle of the day, if he's in the car with me, because Oliver goes everywhere with me or with us, he will not sit on my lap, or actually he usually sits around my shoulders, but he won't do that in the middle of the day. He insists on being below the seat. It's got to be hot as hell under there. The AC can't be getting under there that well. Also, I've put my hand under there and touched one of the bars, and it's really hot. I don't get it, but it's his thing. So he goes under the seat as much as I try to beg him not to and try to call him out. He just does it. Even when he does that, he does not make a sound. And keep in mind, where I live, the nearest next town is 30 minutes away minimum. Let's say my ride is typically 40 minutes minimum one way. I don't hear him, I don't see him that entire way typically, unless it's early in the morning when he's around my shoulders. Yet I still have never forgotten this dog is with me, even though I don't see him or hear him for at least 40 minutes. Keep in mind, I don't have to wake him up and get him ready for the day. I don't have to get him dressed or talk to him and all that stuff. And I do. I wake him up, I let him outside, I get him a treat, and I get him in the car. But I don't have to dress him and bathe him and cook him a meal. These are all things you would do for an infant or a toddler or a child. There are so many more steps for your child than there is this dog. Also, your child is in the back seat, on the seat. They're not underneath it, and most likely they're talking. They may fall asleep, I know that's possible, but if not, they're probably making sounds, and even if they are sleeping, I still don't understand. This dog, who I really, again, don't need to get ready besides letting him out and grabbing him a cookie and saying, "Let's go, Oliver," and having him follow me out to the car and hop on in, I don't have to, I've never forgotten him, ever. I've gone on 2-hour car rides and I still did not forget him when he didn't make a peep the entire ride. I have never forgotten my dog. My dog. How do you forget a child? An infant who needs you for everything? Like, I think that's why I get so angry. I get so angry because I just can't picture it. And again, I don't know these people's stories 100%. We don't know every single detail. And I know there's so many possibilities. And we're humans. We forget things. I get that. The human brain is not perfect. It is so far from perfect. I get that. But I just don't get it. And it's so sad. And I feel horrible for these children. It's not a pleasant death. It's not. Heat stroke is awful. If you've never had it, it is a terrible experience. So to not only start feeling heat stroke, but to feel it so much that you become weak and you know you're dying. Now, thankfully, these are infants. They probably don't understand what's happening, but they know it's not good. The pain and the fear, it's just unimaginable. And I don't know. It's just such a sad thing, but I do think it is something we need to talk about, because I think the more we talk about it, the less it'll happen. It's one of those things you don't want to talk about, you don't want to hear about it, but you do need to hear about it. You do need to talk about it. If one person will not forget their child because of this, it's worth it. Like, you having this conversation with somebody, to a parent, just reminding them, like, hey, I know we all think it's never going to happen to us, but it does. Just be more aware, like, just making them think about it. Because again, like, I think a lot of these parents or grandparents or whatever, these people that do this, I think a lot of them never thought in a million years that would ever happen to them. Like, how can I forget my child? And then it happens. Now, I do think some of these are on purpose. That has unfortunately happened before and been proven before. And so that can happen. And we don't know if that's the case in these cases. These cases just happened. The 4-year-old child, I can't find anything about that. Even if charges have been filed, the only thing I can see is that there's no information on if charges are being filed or not, although I do think they should be. Even if this was an accident, even if it's proven it was an accident, you still need to face consequences for what you did. But anyways, guys, I think it is time to wrap this up. So I'm going to wrap this up really, really quickly. Basically, there's some really cool things going on. I'm about to be getting a microphone. I'm looking into really nice ones. I have 2 right now, but they suck and they all have issues. So I'm looking into getting like an actual nice one. I also have some really good plans, or really big plans, I guess, for my other channel, which is of course linked in the description below right at the top. And I'm very close to being monetized on that channel, so go check that channel out. It is my toy content channel. I am a toy collector. But instead of just showing you guys my toys and stuff that I've got in my collection and stuff that I have for sale and doing unboxings, which I'll be doing a lot more unboxings soon as well, but I'm going to be doing a lot more in-depth videos talking about toy controversies and just like dangerous toys, like just really weird stuff, I guess, and toy commercials that I'm really excited to show you guys and look at that are really creepy and really weird, some really corny and cheesy ones, and just other stuff as well, including reviewing some certain toys that I'm excited to review. So definitely check all of that out. It is of course linked in the description below, and of course subscribe to this channel as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Again, I know this was a tough topic, but please, if you know anybody who takes care of children, who has children, please bring this up to them and remind them, I don't think you would ever do this. However, I just want to make sure you are fully aware of, unfortunately, how often this happens. So please be more conscious and more aware of what you're doing with your children, and make sure you have at least knowledge of where they are at all times to ensure this just doesn't happen to them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, have a good one. Bye. Boop.